Okay, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Ed Risk, and I'm the Director of Transportation here in San Francisco. Happy to welcome you all to the San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency's new Transportation Management Center. Very glad to have the mayor, the police chief here. We're also joined by Jerry Lee, a member of the board of directors of the SFMTA, here just to kind of initiate our Transportation Management Center and talk about some of the things that we're going to be doing to kick it off. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming our mayor, Mayor Ed Lee.
Thank you, Ed. Good morning, everyone. Before I begin, I just want to say, last month I told you that the World Series would end the drought. Okay, I just want to make sure you knew that. That should be at the top of your print. But anyway, Ed, thank you very much. And I want to say thank you to the entire San Francisco Municipal Transportation Agency, the staff, and particularly those that are here that are getting the benefit of this brand new technology to manage traffic and traffic congestion in the city. I reminded Ed that almost a year ago, I visualized such a center when I was visiting Seoul, Korea, where they have a fantastic center just like this with even larger video panels of the entire city. Of course, they're probably 10 times larger than we are. But we visualized an operation that would center here with all the data gathering, visualizing video, and on real-time visualization of where the traffic issues were. Well, let me say this. Just last week, I sat down with Chief Sir and with Ed Riskin to talk about congestion in San Francisco. Whether it's Senator Feinstein that comes into town and calls me up and reminds me about the incredible congestion she faced, or everyday citizens or small businesses that have constantly knocked on my door or hit my phone with complaints about congestion, this is a real issue for San Francisco. It's an issue because we're a growing city. We're a city that's under a lot of construction these days. We're also a city where some actors and actresses in their vehicles or in their delivery trucks seem to think that double parking is helpful to themselves, yet doesn't understand the impact, or where blocking the box, the intersections, thinking they can get across, is yet again not thinking clearly about the congestion it causes. So I want to say to the general public, I'm getting the complaints about congestion in this city deeply, and I understand it, and I want to do something about it. And so with the meeting that we had, I wanted to make sure you know that we're thinking short-term and long-term, that in the short term, the chief and the solos, as we call them, the motorcycle division and the traffic division of the police department are engaged with me, and also Ed Riskin, the parking control officers, are engaged directly with my effort to, in the short term, really deal with the things that are causing congestion in the city. There will be no tolerance of blocking the box. Those that do are going to face the hefty fines that we already have on our books. And thanks to the SFMTA and their staff, but in particular, thanks to Chief Sir, he's going to have some very dedicated conversations, as I think he has already. I'm actually having dinner with a lot of the solos tonight, so we're re-impressing that we want that enforcement along with the education that you can't block the box. That's just not going to be acceptable. And if you're not into giving gifts to the city and county of San Francisco, then don't block that box, particularly beginning now and through the next year. We're going to be very vigilant about this, and I am forewarning people that unless you really like to pay the city, don't be in that box. The second thing is that we're going to be looking at the parking control officers to deal with the contractors in the city, people who are in this robust economic times, being permitted to take up certain lanes or certain parking spaces, that they adhere in detail to those permit conditions. The parking control officers, I want to again thank them because they'll be working hard on our behalf. And we're going to protect them, by the way, too, so that they are safe on the streets. But they're also going to be doing their jobs. which is enforcing the conditions on those permits and making sure that, again, if you double park in our city, you're going to be giving another hefty gift to the city. And we're going to enforce that. And we're going to educate around that, because double parking has been a huge reason, by observance, by reports, by all of the different people that go around the city, including myself, that they have been constant complaints. People simply don't want to pull over to empty spaces, or the spaces that are made available to them, or to the yellow zones that I obviously see next to double parked delivery vans, that they're going to have to pay attention to that. And that will be the job of our PCOs. Both of these are part of the short-term operations that we're doing, that we'll be signaling very, very strongly in the next coming months, beginning today. This will help, but it's not the total answer. What this center represents, that we're here today, is to really take a look at the very near future and in the long term, that all of the data that we want. You know, some people drive around these days, and I see it as well. They have their smartphones, and if they've got these traffic apps, you're going to see green and you're going to see red, and sometimes you'll see yellow. But it's the red routes that I need to pay attention to, that are really agonizing everybody to get around the city. And whether you're using those apps, whether it's Google, or whether it's a special app, or whether you're just trying to get around the city and you don't know what app to use, I'm suggesting that this traffic management center here will be using the latest data and the latest technology to really deal with those red-lined routes that are causing the congestion in the city. And they'll be able to, from this center, take a look at not only the timing of the lights, what may be causing it, but I've asked that in the long run that we get a technical answer that allows the PCOs and others to deliver themselves to those particular sites and make sure that congestion is decongestized, if you will. That we have as much effort going on here to make sure that our congestion is less and less, and that people adhere to the rules that we have. Even though we're a growing city and there's more cars, there's also more people walking. There's more people that are bicycling to wherever they need to go. We need to manage all of those types of transportation modes from this center. And so given I think the privilege of having such a technologically smart center, Ed, I think everybody's going to realize that we can use this technology to our advantage in the long term, and we're going to be able to time, in real time, the ability of people to get across these major arteries in the city. So we wanted to invite you here to see what I'm seeing as we speak, but to deal with short-term and long-term issues. On the long term, we will not only view these corridors as a way to manage traffic a little better, but we're also doing it through the lens of Vision Zero. We want our streets to be safer. We got that order from the voters this past November by their investment of very serious general obligation dollars to the tune of $500 million to make sure our streets are safer, and I mean to do that. So it's a recommitment on my part to not only deal with the congestion, but also to make sure we're performing all the things that we need to do to get all the projects done in Vision Zero. We're 9 out of 14 already, but I think we've even identified even more of those projects in the original list of some 40 that we're going to be completing in the very short term. We heard the voters say this is the right investment to make, and we are making those investments. This is a reflection of that investment, this center right here, that gives us real-time data so we can manage better in a smart way. So I want to say, again, a hefty thanks to everybody working at SFMTA, particularly the parking control officers and the people that are working here in the data center, but also a big thanks to the police department, their traffic unit. They're going to all be working together to implement what has been a very constant sore spot: better traffic flow, more safe streets in the city. This is what the voters wanted. This is what our investment is making, and this is where we have given priority. And so you're going to see the results come out of here very shortly, so that we won't have Paul out there apologizing for things. We'll have more and more about what we're doing better. and better. I want to say thank you to everybody for the center, and the details of the things that we've talked about can be had more by Chief Sir and by Ed Riskin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thanks for the leadership that's supporting a lot of things that we're trying to do with the MTA and the police department, and including things like standing up this center, which will help us better actively manage congestion in the city. And while congestion may be seen as a result of a lot of good things happening in the city, it's investment in the private investment in the city and public investment in our infrastructure, all this construction, all these new people and jobs coming. Congestion does make it more difficult for us to get around town. So I also want to thank the mayor for the leadership on bringing us together to address that, because we want people to be able to get through the city with reasonable ease, and importantly, want to make sure that people can get through the city safely. Those two things come together in how we manage congestion. The most immediate thing that we can do, as the mayor said, is focus on enforcement and making sure that people are adhering to the laws that we have on the books so that everyone can get around safely. So this is something that we'll be doing in partnership with the police department. So let me ask our great Chief of Police, Greg Sir, to speak a little bit about how we're going to be working together in the immediate term to start addressing congestion. Chief?
Thank you, Ed. The two Eds. Two Eds are better than one. Anyway, sorry, I couldn't resist. Anyway, thank you for having me. I was also, as the mayor said, he called a meeting together last week in his office in room 200. We had a horrible last December with regard to pedestrian fatalities in the city, suffering a third of the city's pedestrian fatalities in 1 month, and especially during the holiday season, with the ending with the huge tragedy of little Sophia Lou being killed at Push and Grant on New Year's Eve. So to that end, we wanted to get out in front of it going into this holiday season. We continue to focus on the five most common collision factors that injure pedestrians and bicyclists. Enforcement this year is up over 50%. As we discussed it last week, what can we do? What can we do better? How can we team better as the holidays are more apt to drive in more crowds and more pedestrians? We talked about the congestion. This center is going to go a long way for us being able to, in real time, get notice from MTA or DPT to the motorcycles to see if we can't find the reason for the congestion. If it can be alleviated quickly, we will. If it's a longer-term problem, we'll work with DPT to use even as much as crossing guards, certainly PCOs, to try and manage that site until we can get the flow restored. The mayor spoke about blocking the box. Blocking the box creates anxiousness. Anxiousness gets people to do things that they wouldn't do, and they do them hastily, whether it's a car trying to cut across to get into a lane where there's a vacancy, a pedestrian irritated that a crosswalk's blocked so they're in and amongst the vehicles, or just some frustrated person that actually runs the light just to try and get around. So to that end, just since the meeting that started last week, there have been over 200 tickets issued for blocking the box, and they are expensive. Please, 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 if you cannot make it completely through the intersection to the other side, do not enter the intersection at all, lest you receive one of these very, very costly tickets. I think it's so important that we adhere to the goal, that lofty goal that under the leadership of the mayor we set last year of zero pedestrian fatalities in 10 years. Obviously, we haven't made that this year, so we could have a vision zero just for the month of December. If we could have no pedestrian fatalities through the holiday season, it would be a great start to carry into next year for our first attempt again at achieving no pedestrian fatalities. So the enforcement piece is certainly being spoken here today. We take no pleasure in giving tickets, but if that's what it takes to get everybody to slow down, then we're going to continue to do that. The education piece, you're going to help us with that when you tell this story today, and then obviously the engineering piece, both technologically and then with how we reconfigure our streets is important. So everybody plays a role in this. So if we're to cherish the memory of a little girl that lost her life last New Year's Eve and be better for it, maybe the way to do it is see if we could go 1 month, one holiday season, nobody gets hurt. Pedestrians, wait one more signal, don't jump into the street too soon. Cars, everybody slow down and leave your electronic devices alone when you're operating a vehicle because there's other people in harm's way. Thank you.
I thought that in order to ticket for block the box, that a sign has to be posted. Was that law changed? And then also in regards to double parking, I thought that it was legal for delivery trucks to double park if there was no place for them to park at the curb.
So double parking is what it is. It's not legal. And when we all take our driver's tests, we all take the test, and it says that you're not to enter an intersection unless you can safely make it through the intersection.
But in regards to the law, does the sign have to be posted?
No.
Okay, so that law was changed, because that used to be the case. There was a state law that said that a sign had to be posted at the intersection, and that's why, in fact, signs were posted at some intersections downtown the last time this became this was a big issue.
I'm happy to research that.
Okay, and then, again, regarding double parking, what we've always been told is delivery, it's not, one of the problems with enforcing the law on double parking for delivery trucks is that it's not illegal for them to double park, so is that a city policy?
Well,
or is that a law?
again, I don't know that in every instance that we would give the tag, but certainly it has to be, it's not just generally okay to, for instance, if there was a vehicle accident and then a commercial truck decided to block a lane and then thereby close the entire street, they're going to have to figure out another time. So what we're saying is that if the presence of a vehicle doing something is going to, even like if a car breaks down, we're going to do whatever we can to remove the clog, even if it's a conversation versus a ticket.
But to report and saying there's going to be stepped up enforcement of double parked commercial vehicles, I mean, in fact, is the police department now going to, with a vengeance, going around and tagging commercial vehicles that are double parked on every block in the downtown area?
We're a smart, thoughtful police department, not a vengeful police department. So we're going to go out and try to make the city safe as best we can.
So to follow on what the chief and the mayor were saying, so that there is immediate enforcement, and of course it's enforcing the existing laws as they exist today, including double parking and block the box. But we also, beyond that, the mayor referenced some kind of longer term things that we're going to do, and some of the things we're going to be looking at are the commercial loading zones that we have available, because it's not okay to double park if there's an available parking, which we often see, or if you're not actively loading. But that said, we want to look at the number and the length and the time limits of commercial loading zones as one of the things that we need to do, because we need to still facilitate commerce in the city. We're going to be looking at our construction regulations and making sure people are adhering to their permit conditions, but making sure that we're being as smart as we can and balancing the need to enable the construction work to get done, whether it's in the right-of-way or in a private lot, with the need to make sure that traffic can continue to move. We're going to be looking at ways to get more historical and real-time traffic data through GPS technology. All of our buses have it. Other fleets that we regulate have it. So there's a lot of information that we can have, both in real time and historical, that will help us understand traffic patterns, that will help us make traffic management decisions, that will help us deploy officers, as the chief said, PCOs or police officers. So we're going to be really looking at a constellation of resources and tools and initiatives, using cameras, using technology, using communications to the public, whether through the navigation devices that people have in their cars that the mayor referenced to, or through the media to give people more better real-time information. The SFMTA Twitter feed currently gives real-time information, I think 16 hours a day, 5 days a week on Muni issues. In time we'll be expanding that to transportation or traffic issues more generally, so that we can let folks know if there is a clog, if there is one of those red arteries, we can give people alternate routes to take. So taken together, we think with the short-term enforcement, using some of the technology and tools at this center will enable us to better avail ourselves of. We'll be able to really start making a dent in the congestion, because the growth is going to continue to come to the city, and at least in the near term, the construction, both private and public, is going to continue to happen in the city, we need to do our best to manage that so that people can still get around and can still get around safely. So that's really what we wanted to cover today, and now we'd be happy to open it up to any other questions you have.
Do you have enough PCOs to make sure the intersections are clear? And if you do, why haven't we seen them up till now?
So the resource limitation that we have in terms of both the number of police officers and PCOs is real. Part of what this kind of technology and the coordination between the two departments we have will enable us to use the limited resources we have as strategically and efficiently as we can. While we'd all maybe love, in terms of addressing blocking the box, to have a couple of cops or PCOs at every intersection, we're never going to be able to sustainably resource that. But by being kind of selective and strategic about how we deploy them, by using real-time information about where the problems are, sending people to the red corridors, sending people to the intersections that are getting blocked, that's how we're going to be able to leverage the limited resources we have. The police department is staffing up with the funding that they've gotten from the mayor and the board of supervisors. We're a little bit increasing the number of PCOs that we have. So there'll be some increase in resources, but it's more about strategically using the resources we have and really focusing on this issue. So some of it is changing the focus of the work that the officers and the parking control officers are doing to focus on this issue, because it is a safety issue. It's a real issue.
So, I get the tech, but I mean, anybody that's in San Francisco on any nights, it's Third and Market, Battery, Mission,
Right. So
where's the
the
PCO?
The chronic intersections is where, as a result of this, we're going to be redeploying police or parking control officer resources. Yeah, absolutely.
And can I just add something about the a relevant question, because it was mentioned by the mayor regarding construction permits. My experience, and I can cite 2 incidences at Civic Center within the last month, has not been monitoring construction permits or event permits to make sure that the vendors or whoever are following the permits. It's been the city issuing permits that were not needed, that as a result took up all of the parking all around the Civic Center. In the first case with the Twitter event that was put on by Another Planet, and as recently as last week, permits issued by DPW for the construction that's now going on at the Civic Center, where they literally put up no parking signs around the entire Civic Center for 4 months.
Yeah, so part of what I mentioned, and Public Works was in this meeting with us and the mayor last week or 2 weeks ago, is about reviewing the process by which we develop the traffic plans and the street closure plans associated with construction, and on our side, doubling the number of folks we have enforcing the permit conditions. So I think between the two of those,
Go out and look and see whether these permits are even.
which is exactly what we're going to be doing. Yeah, generally the contractors tell. So the things that we're trying to balance here, because it does take a long time to get work done, particularly in the public right-of-way in the city, is we're trying to give contractors the space so that they can come in and do their work and get out. And so it's always a balance of how much of that space we give them versus how quickly the project will go. We're going to be working with Public Works and the other utilities to see how we can make sure that we're not giving more space than we need, but we can still enable this important construction to rebuild our sewers and water mains and our gas pipelines and repave our streets, so that work can still continue. Thank you. Happy to answer questions afterward. Thank you all for coming.